Okay, fellow babies, welcome back to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. I'm Michael Pachter. I'm happy that you're watching this. I hope it's real time as a Patreon patron, and thank you if you are. If you are a YouTube subscriber, you're also getting this real time. So again, thank you for your patronage there. If you have an Amazon Prime account, please remember to link it to your Twitch Prime account. The instructions are in the show description below. And if you're doing none of those things, then please try to follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter even if you are a Patreon patron, at Michael Pachter. Let's get to today's question. Our next question from SIFTD from Deus Zero. Why are so many tech and gaming companies laying people off when so many other business sectors can't hire fast enough and unemployment is so low? Games and consoles continue to set records, so it doesn't make sense. Were the organizations that bloated, and if so, how did they become that way? How can Xbox logically lay off its current developers while simultaneously spending $69 billion to buy Activision and Blizzard's developers? Laying off developers definitely won't help avoid crunch. Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Tech more than gaming. I haven't actually heard about huge layoffs in gaming like Activision. I don't think has done any. Ubi modest, if any. Take-Two really modest. I mean, I think they talk about $50 million in costs, and they just acquired Zynga, so they have consolidation. Like they have 2 lawyers for every company that they need one, and they have 2 HR people and all that. So minor. Yes, Amazon Games for sure. Yes, Microsoft cut across all divisions, including Xbox. Yes, Google wiped out Stadia, but I would not call them game decisions as much as bloated organizations. And in fairness, part of the Microsoft layoffs, I think, is related to their confidence that Activision is going through. So, they do have some redundancy, and I think that they're just being anticipatory. But the real driver of the layoffs is that in tech companies in particular, game companies as well, but tech companies in particular, the average employee, the average salaried employee, not warehouse workers, and drivers at Amazon, but the average corporate white collar worker is paid a big chunk of pay in stock. So at Microsoft, it's probably a third. At Amazon, it's probably 2/3. So it's really big if you're being paid in stock. And when you pay employees in stock and the stocks are down as much as they are, at their trough, I think Microsoft was off by about a third, Apple was off by about a third, Amazon was off by about half. So you saw the stock go down a lot. So let's just say, and I'll just give you kind of easy numbers, if you make $200,000 as a white collar worker at Amazon, and you make say $75,000 of salary and $125,000 of stock, and the stock that you were already paid gets cut by half, then you're no longer making $200,000, you're making $140,000, and you're pissed, and that's what's going on. And as you pointed out, high employment, so it's easy to find another job, and so if they're making $200 at Amazon last year and $140 this year, they're very happy to go someplace else, even for $175. And so they're leaving. And so what you're seeing is the corporations, Microsoft and Amazon for sure, laying people off to help prop up the share price. I'll give you a non-tech company that just happened this week. Disney announced they were going to lay off 7,000 people and save $5 billion a year, and the stock went straight up, hit all 1-year highs. So people love layoffs. Investors, not workers, obviously. So investors love to see their companies cut costs. The answer to your question, were they so bloated? I think that tech tends to be really bloated. My experience with talking to tech companies is they have way too many people doing these jobs, and I'll give you an example. And I actually talked to Amazon investor relations about this. They announced 6% layoffs, and then they said 6% of their corporate workforce, and then they announced that number was 18,000 employees. So I get the investor relations person on the phone, and I go, so could you explain to me what 300,000 corporate employees do? Because the definition of corporate is people who don't work in fulfillment centers or drivers, right? So that's 1 million people, which, with $500 billion in sales, of course they have 1 million people delivering and packing that stuff. But what do the other 300,000 people do? And the IR person first goes, I don't know where you got that 300,000 number. And I went, well, you announced you laid off 18,000 people. You said it was 6%. So I divided 18,000 by 0.06, and that's 300,000 employees. Did I do the math wrong? And she goes, well, I don't think we've ever confirmed that number. I go, okay, fine. Could you look up your press release and make sure I'm doing the math right? Then I go, and could you just give me kind of rough, broad strokes? How many of those 300,000 people work in Amazon Web Services? Because if it's 50, then it begs the question, what do the other 250,000 people do? If it's 250,000, then I'm not going to ask you what the other 50 do. I'm going to ask you, why do you need 250,000 in AWS? So, and she goes, well, we've never disclosed how many people work in AWS. And the answer is, because it's too many, right? They don't have an answer to anything. And the truth is, yes, they're bloated. By how much? I have to be fair. I don't know what the 300,000 people do. I can tell you, my company has 1,000 employees. I can tell you what every single one of them does. I worked for an oil company. We had 26,000 employees in an oil company. Amazon has 12 times as many people, and I promise you, our business is more complicated. We produced oil. We produced it. We built pipelines and shipped it. We had ships to take it to refineries. We had refineries that were run by people. We had product pipelines and trucks to deliver it to gas stations, and we ran gas stations. And we only had 26,000 people. So I think you could run Amazon with 100,000 employees, excluding AWS. I don't know how big AWS is. That's an animal unto itself. But I think they're way fat. And they said that the bulk of the 18,000 were in HR and the device division. How many HR employees do you have? I get that you have 1 million employees, but do you have an HR rep for every 20? Like, what the hell is that? That even that would be 50,000. I think they have more. It's crazy. So the reason you're getting tech cuts is because, yes, they got bloated. They got ridiculously bloated. And do I think that it hurts Xbox to lay off developers and then pick up developers? Xbox makes a lot of games that haven't been that great, so they've got room. What's going on at Rare? I don't know. I went and saw 343 before Halo 5, so like 10 years ago, and they had like 500 employees. So I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to run all this, but Microsoft's picked up, I think they're up to 21 studios. They picked up like 8 or 10 or something. I'm pretty confident that nobody at Bethesda is getting laid off. I don't think that you're going to have to worry about, Elder Scrolls 6, which is coming next year. I don't think you have to worry about that coming out. But sure, they're going to lay off some. They're going to get back some. And I would imagine that between Activision and Blizzard and King, you're going to get a lot of capability to do a lot of stuff with Microsoft titles. I think Xbox is going to have the Call of Duty teams work on Halo. Whether they make it or not, don't know. Because, they're different games. One's a space future marine, space marine shooter, and the other is more current. They have a couple of versions that are slightly in the future. But Halo's, God knows, thousands of years in the future, and Call of Duty's now. But will they work together? Yeah. They've always had the Gears of War guys who could have also helped with Halo, and they never did. I think you'll probably take the Call of Duty, Gears of War, and Halo brands and put them under one big studio head that kind of figures it all out. Is that Mark Lamia? I don't know. Could be. Look what EA did with Battlefield and Star Wars, and if they ever make it again, Titanfall and Apex, all under Vince. And I think you can do that. Lamia's a really good guy, and I could see him being the right guy. But I think that Lamia's got a real vision for a military shooter, and I do think it matters if that military shooter is Modern Warfare realistic or space shooter. And I think there's plenty of good people at 343 who could really help, keep that thing authentic and real. But there's plenty of people at Treyarch who could make that game just more fun, multiplayer, and better maps and figure stuff out. So I'm a firm believer in 1 + 1 is 3. And so you take guys who have unique skills and put them together and put them in a room and get them brainstorming, they're going to come up with something better. And to be honest, the 343 team is very talented. The Coalition they're really good, and Treyarch is really good, and Infinity Ward is really good, and I don't even know if there is a Sledgehammer left, but they're all good. So put them all together, and what I think Lamia has been really great at, and this most recent Call of Duty proved it, is just getting the chemistry right on the team working on the game. I mean, he's really good, and Vince is really good at that at EA. So not Bonnie Ross, I believe, is retired, but not to say that 343 can't do it. But Coalition and 343 weren't working together on Halo, and why not have them all together? And honestly, why not have Marcus Phoenix as a guest character in Call of Duty or Halo? Like, that'd be fun. Have him time travel wherever. I don't even know where he's coming from, but that would be fun, right? Thanks for joining us on Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. If you're a Patreon patron or a YouTube subscriber, we really appreciate it. If you are either of those or neither of those, please remember to link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch Prime account, because we get paid a couple bucks a month for that, and you got to renew that every month. So if you're watching this, go to the instructions below and link your accounts, please. Costs you nothing, and we'll get paid. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next time.